I am Heather O'Neill, principal of HPP International LLC. I live and work in New York City, mainly because it is a fast-paced 24-hour city. And I like being a part of the melting pot that it is. I am recording from Murray Hill, where I live, which is near Midtown Manhattan. My COVID practice began in March with the orders from Governor Cuomo to shelter in place and stay at home. It became a moment of self reflection for me and an opportunity to evaluate the state of my mental, physical, and economic health. So, here is a view of Murray Hill. The skyline has a few architectural icons like the United Nations headquarters, the Chrysler, and Empire State Buildings. This is a view of the neighborhood from the building where I live. It's on the 15th floor looking southwest, and this view is looking north. You are looking at the subway entrance to the station near Grand Central Terminal. It is the one I used almost every day before the pandemic. The traffic that you see in this photograph is normal, or was normal. In this image, you are looking at the same corner. The most dramatic change after the lockdown was access to transportation. Subway entrances were closed and boarded up with painted plywood, as you can see. Travel on buses was restricted to all except essential service workers. This is the same subway entrance, looking east towards the UN headquarters. It was a graphic reminder of the lockdown due to the pandemic. My professional life is probably 70 to 80% practice, and the rest is divided between academia and volunteering to professional organizations like the AIA, NOMA, the National Organization of Minority Architects, and EWB, Engineers Without Borders. I am pictured with Kimberly Dowdell, our current NOMA president. On the academic side, the studio culture was up close and personal in the pre COVID world. It was more experiential and with a great deal of peer to peer learning. We were already on a road to developing new habits in the studio, becoming more digital and less physical model making. Some classes were hybrid, like the one I taught in this room. It was a combination of in person and remote teaching. This is the moment just before the class begins. The Manhattan campus students are in the room with me. I can also see the Westbury campus students on the monitor at the top right of all the screens on my desk. The students can see each other on the large screen monitors on the wall behind me, just as I can see them on monitors at the rear of the classroom as well. Everyone can see me, of course. In this setting, the technology was up to date and technical support was available and really great. The first week of the lockdown coincided with spring break. It took 1 week to ramp up to fully remote teaching in virtual classrooms. This is my makeshift podium in my apartment where I live and work. I felt compelled to do whatever it took to become proficient with Zoom. It facilitated my ability to see the students on screen, my laptop in this case, similar to what we had become accustomed to in the hybrid classroom, while using the second monitor for the screen share or vice versa. I found these new skills to be relevant in my actual practice as well. Pre COVID, I was in a partnership practice with my husband at Tona. The office was located in the financial district at the edge of Battery Park. We focused on schools, affordable and supportive housing, commercial, and healthcare projects. The work I was responsible for at Tona included the Old Boys High School in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. It was built in 1891, and among their alumni, they boasted the author Isaac Asimov, novelist Norman Mailer, and jazz percussionist Max Roach. We had designed the relocated library in the Old Boys High School. This is another Toner project. It is one of 12 buildings that were totally renovated as part of a neighborhood redevelopment program. Pre COVID, at the end of 2019, I was in the process of transitioning to an independent practice, HPP International LLC, as you know. My time at the office was divided between Toner and HPP International. This building is in the Penn Station area. In February, I was in the process of negotiating office space with another architect in this building. Then, boom, we were in a pandemic. It led to a change in circumstances, and I no longer go to the Toner office. The new office discussions gave way to the COVID health concerns and social distancing. That idea is still on hold. Pre COVID, this was the space where I prepare for class. Today, it is also my office where I work. Site visits and construction phase meeting pre-COVID were typically in person. This was at a supportive housing project in the Bronx. When the pandemic struck, most clients changed to virtual meetings, and video walkthroughs were conducted according to CDC guidelines for construction sites. I left Toner because I wanted to have a residential practice with a focus on brownstone projects in Brooklyn and Manhattan. We are a team of architects and engineers, each with independent practices, working collaboratively with each other. However, the effect of the pandemic on HPP International is that the private residential projects are paused and the affordable housing projects remained feasible, mostly because working on affordable housing is an essential service which is not restricted by the stay-at-home and shelter-in-place orders. We realized that it was important for us to remain flexible and perhaps revise our marketing and practice strategies. To be productive, we use a variety of video conferencing platforms daily, such as WebEx, Microsoft Teams, GoToMeeting, and a host of others. To communicate internally, we use Zoom for team building and as much as possible for maintaining client relationships. There are some clients who are reluctant to embrace video conferencing, but we found that they may be open in most cases to the classic conference call. There are several apps and programs already available for collaboration, which are under consideration among our team. I was already familiar with Slack, for example, which has the advantage of keeping a record of conversations and the progress of design ideas on a project, as you see in the conversation thread I am showing. Other programs, such as Miro and Concept Board, were recommended for remote design reviews, and Bluebeam for red lines. Many of them have trial versions, so we have some incentive to give them a try and possibly improve our process. One of the outcomes from this crisis is the opportunity for me to reflect. I found a renewed commitment to my interest in resilient design. This rendering shows my interpretation of the Tapia House, which is an adaptation of an indigenous tropical prototype that I believe can provide earthquake resilience, and tropical storm resistance. This floor plan of the updated Tapia House showcases the resilient features as well as sustainable options to include in the development of this design. The exploded view of the structural components demonstrate the resilient capabilities of the Tapia House. Back to work-life balance. In the current work environment, working at home during the pandemic has its risks and rewards. Comfort food has been revised since this photograph was taken. And sometimes we experiment. This is our healthy breakfast. Homeschooling, Zoom classes are setting a precedent for several hours of screen time. The main challenge for me is a successful integration of personal and professional life. Back to Murray Hill. You are looking at pre COVID traffic at midnight during lockdown. This is Third Avenue at what would have been the morning rush hour. Here it is again, Third Avenue, during a protest march after George Floyd was killed by police in Minneapolis. My COVID practice is a virtual architecture firm. The transition was relatively easy because timing coincided with plans to move into a new space. The important question is, are things going back to what was normal before, or will it stay as it is now? I think that we can survive COVID 19 and emerge from it with new tricks or tools that will improve how we work and prepare us for the next disruption.